The biggest thing is the chemical imbalance story. So what you find in the science is that the chemical imbalance theory of mental disorders did not arise from an understanding what was going on in people's brains related to neurotransmitters, but actually arose from an understanding of how drugs acted on the brain. So, for example, researchers discovered that antipsychotics blocked dopamine transmission in the brain. They thwarted normal dopamine transmission. So researchers hypothesized schizophrenia and other psychotic disorders were due to too much dopamine. In other words, the whole hypothesis arose from how drugs perturbed normal function of neurotransmitters in the brain, chemical
It's a
messengers.
really key point. I just want to really emphasize that and make sure people grasp what you just said, that they derived their hypothesis or their idea of what was causing these conditions based on looking at what knocked out the symptoms. And so they kind of reverse explained it in a way, right? By
Exactly.
saying,
That's what they did do. They said, okay, we believe these drugs are effective. We know this is how they perturb normal functioning, since the antipsychotics block dopamine receptors, so they block the normal transmission of messages along dopaminergic pathways. So they said, oh, as you said, the reverse, the opposite. Maybe schizophrenia is due to too much dopamine. And the chemical imbalance story we know the best is, of course, the story of low serotonin is the problem with depression. People with depression have too little serotonin. Well, that arose because they understood that antidepressants and, say, the SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, what they did is they kept serotonin in that synaptic cleft between neurons longer than normal. So therefore, you're upping serotonergic activity. So they theorized, well, maybe depression is due to too little serotonin. So first of all, you see that the theory arose not from discoveries of what was really going on with depressed people diagnosed with schizophrenia. Okay, so you have this hypothesis, right? Now you have to see, do people with schizophrenia, diagnosed with schizophrenia, have too much dopamine before they go on the drugs? Or people with depression, do they have too little serotonergic activity before they go on the drugs? Now here's the most amazing thing. Let's just follow the low serotonin theory of depression in the scientific literature. As early as 1984, the National Institute of Mental Health did a big study to investigate the low serotonergic theory of depression. They said, we're just not finding any lesion or any abnormality in the serotonergic system. That's 3 years before Prozac came to market. Now, Prozac comes to market in 1987, hailed as this breakthrough new medication said to fix serotonergic imbalances in the brain. Well, the research into the low serotonin theory of depression continues. Now, what does the American Psychiatric Association's own textbook declare in 1998? Didn't pan out. We have found no evidence, this is his own textbook, that low serotonin is in fact the abnormality regularly present in depressed patients. Okay, so at the same time they're doing this, the head of the APA and the American Psychiatric Association is actually conducting campaigns to say depression is due to too little serotonin, and we fix that problem with our drugs. But their own textbook said otherwise. The investigation into the dopamine hyperactivity theory of schizophrenia is a bit more complex, but it too did not pan out that there was a characteristic lesion in the dopaminergic system as a primary cause of schizophrenia. And in 2005, Kenneth Kindler, who was one of the leading investigators in the whole world and the editor of Psychological Medicine, I think that's what the journal he edited, he said, listen, we have hunted for big, simple neurochemical explanations for psychiatric disorders, and we have not found them. So think about this again. You're being told you have a chemical imbalance. Millions of people went to their doctor and were told they have a chemical imbalance. This will fix it like insulin for diabetes. It's not slightly askew. It's totally wrong. And what is really the betrayal is they knew it at the highest level. Now, there were many psychiatrists who didn't know the research literature, many prescribers, they bought into it too. But at the highest levels, they knew it. Now, there's another element that's even more, I think, disturbing. So you're depressed in some fashion. You go on an antidepressant, say Prozac or one of the SSRIs. Now that ups your serotonergic activity, right? Now, when you go on, you have no lesion, you have no known abnormality in your serotonergic system. But now you go on the drug, it keeps serotonin longer in the synaptic cleft. That's like acting as an accelerator on serotonergic activity. Well, your brain, being this extraordinarily uh, it has such neuroplasticity and has so many feedback mechanisms. It immediately says, oh, I've got too much serotonergic activity. So now it puts the brake down on serotonergic activity, and it does so in two ways. The presynaptic neurons, that's the neuron that releases the serotonin into that tiny gap, stops putting out so much serotonin. Now that compensatory adaptation, that attempt to maintain a normal functioning, researchers say the brain is trying to maintain a homeostatic equilibrium, that seems to burn out after a while, that compensatory adaptation. The second part is the receiving neurons, the postsynaptic neurons. In response to this drug presence, they actually decrease the density of their serotonergic receptors for serotonin, okay? And now you can understand, the drug acts as an accelerant, the brain puts down the brake on serotonergic activity. But think of the irony on this.
Yes.
When you went in, before you went on the drug, you had no abnormality with your serotonergic system. The drug actually induces or causes the very abnormality hypothesized to cause depression in the first place. And by the way, that's a model, a paradigm for understanding of how psychiatric drugs work. And I think it was in 1996, the head of NIMH at that time, Stephen Hyman, who's a neuroscientist, he wrote a paper called A Paradigm for Understanding Psychotropic Drugs. And he says all these drugs perturb normal functioning.
Mm-hmm.
In response to that perturbation, the brain goes through these compensatory adaptations. It's trying to maintain a homeostatic equilibrium. And at the end of this compensatory process, the brain is functioning, these are his words, in a manner that is both qualitatively and quantitatively different than normal. So think about this difference. The public and prescribers are being informed that these are normalizing agents. They're creating a normal functioning neurotransmitter functioning and correcting a pathology when exactly the opposite is true. Mm-hmm. There's no known abnormality, and then when you're done, you have the very abnormality physiologically that you had, that was hypothesized to cause the problem in the first place.
That is the great irony of it all.
Yeah, I mean, that is just, I was gobsmacked when I first, because, as a journalist, I had written that these drugs fix, chemical imbalances. Why wouldn't I call up the experts, say, they fix chemical imbalances like insulin for diabetes? So, of course, I wrote that. When I first found out that it was just hypothesis, I was pretty gobsmacked. But when then I really traced in the research literature that they found that the drugs cause these compensatory changes that were the very abnormality hypothesized to cause these problems, I was stunned just at this unbelievable distance between what we were being told publicly and what the science was telling.